Oh, sorry, the mic was on mute. So
Okay.
today we have, yeah, I'm making a lot of mistakes today, and there
No,
has
no.
been some technical errors as well.
Okay.
So today we have with us Roland Cruz, who has been active in political space, and he is affiliated to All India Professionals Congress, and bef- and he's also an entrepreneur running multiple businesses. But before we talk about how he ventured into politics, his involvement with AIPC, his businesses, first we'll understand from Roland about his upbringing, the values he gained from family, the worldview he developed during his childhood years, his teenage years, and the current worldview. So, Roland, we would like to understand, like we, as in me and the viewers, would like to understand about your upbringing, your background, and would like you to take us on a nostalgic ride.
Great. Thanks for having me, Mrunal. This is, first of all, very exciting that you've started something called as the Underground Radio. Of course, we'll get into the conversation of what made you name it Underground in today's times. But yeah, coming to my background, so I'm born and brought up in Mumbai. I finished my education in Mumbai. I was in Dadar, that's where I was born. And my colleging was in Bandra St. Andrews College. I completed my master's also in Mumbai University. Uh, Coming to what shaped my childhood, how things were in Mumbai. Let's assume 20 years ago, or let's say 30 years ago. You can guess my age with that. But 30 years ago, Mumbai, people talking to each other, there being brotherhood, open parks, not very congested. Uh, the traffic scenario was not as bad as it is today. Of course, the city could have been planned better over the years, but that is what I can remember of my childhood, playing on the playgrounds of Mumbai, going away and on a holiday, you could just think of a park like a marine drive, which is now crowded, but it wasn't previously. Uh, then you could think of going to the cinema halls, etc. So this is where I spent most of my childhood. But thereafter, after finishing college, while I was in college, actually, I was working with Candies. If you know what where Candies is, it's an eatery in Mumbai.
Right,
The
right.
reason
That used to be my usual hangout spot for meetings,
oh,
meeting friends. Yeah.
it wasn't a big brand back then. It was just something which was very close to uh, my college. And the reason my family packed me to finding employment when I was 18, I guess, was for me to understand how businesses work, to get a bit of humility. I don't know if this is a usual practice, but it is a practice with Gujaratis, right? They want their children to start off very early on to understand how businesses work and interact with a lot of people in businesses. So that is something I got exposed to quite early, and
Okay.
that also shaped a lot of my worldview because I got to meet
Okay.
a lot of people while I was at Candies. So Candies, for
But
your
uh,
viewers,
but but this is like way later in life. I want to know about your growing up days in Dadar, and more so because I am asking this because of the times we are living in right now. So Dadar has always been a space where there are Maharashtrians, there are Gujaratis, and you come from a Catholic family. So how was the cultural scenario in Dadar back then? Did you ever feel that you did you ever feel as an outcast? Did you ever feel that you don't belong here? Or how was it back then?
okay. So not at all. First and foremost, even today, I don't feel like I'm an outsider or something of that. So we've been three generations in Mumbai, right?
Hmm.
So if I look at my grandfather, he served the Indian Navy. So he was posted in Kolaba, and from Kolaba we moved to Dadar after, let's say, his stint of 10 years or something. We moved to Dadar. You are right. So previously, there was a lot of activities in my childhood which I was part of. Let's say Ganesh Utsav. Like this is
Hmm.
one of the biggest activities that staying up late in the night at the pandals, carrying Ganesh ji on our shoulders and taking him to the party on the 10th day. So that was something that I was exposed to. Then, of course, you had the Muslim community that I was exposed to as well in Mahim. Then there is Antop Hill, there's Baikula, that tri
mm,
junction where Howrah sits in between all of these three locations. So, having the Nalli Niharis and Keema Paos, also going to the Dargah Sharif and, bowing my
mm,
head, etc., with my friends. So that is another exposure. Sheer kurma to aaj bhi khate hi hai, aisa nahi hai.
mm,
I think time is something that is the reason why I might not be doing it much often. But yeah, that is something I was also. And then, back then we were in school or let's say at home, and while I was with my friends, we never, had something like, "Arey, your name, what's your surname?" Or
mm,
let's say, we've got a festival coming up. Are we supposed to be tensed?
right.
Right? Let's say today you have Govinda.
Do you feel,
That is
yeah.
sorry.
Do you feel times have changed now with regards to festivals? Like
Uh,
earlier, we used to see that in Ganesh Utsav is a festival of Mumbai. The first Ganesh Utsav was also started by Lokmanya Tilak during the British Raj in Mumbai, and it apart from the religious angle of the festival, it also had a political uh, motive behind the festival. So, but as we see, like in the last 20 years, Ganesh Utsav or be it any festival, be it the Govindas, be it the Christmas, uh, Eids have not been that cultural festival where people have been involved traditionally from different cultures. But say, for example, Ganesh Utsav or Navratri or Govinda or Christmas, people across religious lines had been used to be a part of these festivals and celebrate it with equal joy. But do you feel that that is kind of changing now?
uh, just that part of even when Ganpati was started by Tilak, it was also a social gathering. Apart from being
Mm,
political and religious, it was a social gathering where people could come, talk to each other, etc., etc. So yeah, that has used to happen a lot. हम चंदा मांगने चले जाते थे गणपति का
mm,
पंडल के लिए, घर घर जाते थे, पैसा जमा करते थे, फिर हम पंडल बनाते थे, गणेश की मूर्ति को लाते थे, and all of that used to happen. But I see that in today's times, when these festivals approach, so you feel that there is a tension in the atmosphere at
mm,
times. Mostly for people, let's say if it's clashing with another festival, then police
mm,
permission. Is there something someone needs to fear about if he's found dancing in a garba? In garba भी हम करते थे तो एंट्री होती थी, म्यूजिकल नाइट्स रात भर चलते थे. But
mm,
I feel that today, you filter the people getting into the Garba, wherever the Garba is organized, right? So you have these gatekeepers who check if you are from a particular community or not. But previously it wasn't. I stay in a Gujarati dominated area in Mumbai, and all
okay.
my neighbors are Gujaratis. So I have always been, I have never personally found that kind of, I would quote unquote discrimination thoughts,
Mm,
but I feel that there is a general atmosphere when I speak to people from the other religions, that they feel some sort of distance that has been maintained during festivals. Invitations thode kam aa rahe honge. So there is
mm.
that sense, but that's where we step in, right? So that's where we step in, and we want to go back to those olden days, safeguarding our religious brotherhood.
Exactly, exactly. So what did you think of the politics and the society back then during your school days, early college years, say junior college or degree college? Did you ever think about politics? Did you ever feel that you'll be participating in politics later in life?
Uh, Not politics, if you take the term politics as electioning,
Hmm.
or let's say joining a party, etc. So politics for me, the election and joining a party is only 10% of politics. The 90%
Hmm.
is everybody is political. When you have a
Hmm.
political view, when you're taking a small step in your daily life, there is a political action in that. So I grew up dreaming of being an IAS officer. And so I was anyways wanting to have an impact in society, make some change in society, be part of the government machinery. So you will have legislature, administration, judiciary. So I wanted to be part of administration. So UPSC civil services exams की preparation के लिए. So I was very much inclined and immersed in whatever the political happenings are. Let's say when I was 14, 15 onwards itself, even debate competitions in school, electionings in school. I used to be at the forefront of everything. So right. So politics वाला थोड़ा कुछ था मेरे अंदर, but it was not related to a party, etc. And then moving on to, let's say, when I was in college, then it became serious. Now let's see what's happening within the atmosphere, right? So I think that were the years of the UPA 1 and UPA 2. So more so about how the Congress was shaping up under Sonia Gandhi, influenced by most of that politics, and of course the Atal Bihari Advani Geo kind of politics as well, where opposition was more responsible compared to how BJP is today. But yeah, so that was the atmosphere that I grew up in while I was in college.
Actually, I can see a lot of similarities between us. Like while you come from a defense family, I was a defense aspirant, uh, and I was in my last days of school during the 2009 10 years of UPA government when a lot of scams and
You did
corruptions
your
had
schooling in
been.
Mumbai?
Sorry.
You did your schooling in Mumbai.
I did my schooling in Mumbai. So I'm born and brought up in Mumbai. So I was born in Cherni Road, and then we shifted to Kandivali. And
Okay.
since then, I've been in Kandivali for say last 25 years. And yeah, also I was into sports. I was a national level athlete. So during all the state level tournaments, national level tournaments, and even while practicing with people in my school, I always found that the level of privileges were different. Some were more privileged, some were lesser privileged because of the kind of people you are exposed to, right?
Mm.
People from different backgrounds. So I was quite aware of the privileges that I had during my childhood. And I always questioned the privilege, and I also believe that privileges do come with a sense of responsibility. And I always wanted to do something for the society, for the nation. And during those years you only feel that army is one way to go where you can serve the nation. So like any other uh, kid, I was also preparing for the National Defense Services examination, and the scams of UPA government were quite making a news in those days, between 2009 to 2012. So
Let's
that
say
had sorry,
so-called scams.
so-called scams. Now that I realize after growing up, but in
Mm.
those days you are young, you have a hot blood and you want to do something for the country. So I had also joined the Anna movement and all those things.
Right.
Uh,
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but 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 few years later down the line, as I read more about politics, as I get to know more about politics, as I'm still learning about politics, I who thought that I'll be associated with the Congress party, uh, whom I had a kind of aggression towards in my days of youth because
No.
of less knowledge, I could say. But when I look at politics more from a values perspective, I feel that Congress is a place which kind of resonates with my values of secularism, pluralism, diversity. Uh, so yeah, even I had been preparing for defense. I had thought of IAS examinations, but I found that ultimately, if I have to end up in bureaucracy, I'll have to serve a politician who is maybe illiterate, who is maybe uneducated, and so what's the purpose? And what's the purpose? So yeah, that's something about me. Uh,
Precisely, but to that point, I had my attempts pending. I was shortlisted for the interview. I gave my interviews for the UPSC as well. I had Purushottam Agarwal, professor from JNU, who took my interview.
okay, yeah.
And I think that year he really scored me well on my interview. So I at least knew that the aptitude existed for public service. So I would call
Mhm.
politics also a public service. And so the
Exactly.
aptitude existed. But I said that, the same things like, I could be restricted within the code of conduct of all India services. And so I said, let me not just give this attempt. rather move on to the other side and get into the legislature part of it. And till that time, Congress was not in my mind or something like, I should be joining a party particularly, but I could do a lot of other things. And then the values which you spoke about was the driving factor for me to choose a party. So looking at the Constitution of India, all the values are embodied within the Congress Party: diversity, inclusion, listening to others, freedom, so equality, ये सारे values. And this is what then made my choice easier. Let's say late 17, 18, that I need to get into like a political party to go and dispense what I want to for society. And so of course we'll be discussing what was in between college and the political party. But then, yeah, that was even my inspiring thing, the values of Congress.
So since when are you associated with the Congress, and what dragged you towards Congress? The values, obviously, you shared, but why? Apart from values, is there anything else in the Congress party that makes you pledge your allegiance to the party?
So I'll put it this way. I call myself as a political worker of the Congress. And I will be calling myself as political worker. But the position, power, वो सब performance, ये सारी चीजें मेरे से बहुत दूर है. I would like my politics to be permissionless. So permissionless politics means that you don't require permission or a mandate to go and execute something. And I felt that the Congress as a platform allowed me to do that. Within my scope, you could go ahead and do what you need to. And it was permissionless. Back to UPSC, so let's say 2012, 2014 is when my UPSC stint, somehow I halted that. And I had a plan that, okay, in the next 7 to 8 years, I need to get into active politics. And to fund that active politics, I set up, certain amount of my businesses so that I could focus completely on politics. Because I believe that I'm sure that we'll go into it a little later about, why and how the businesses and stuff like that. But point being that I know that in politics, if you are full time, then you are not economically, at least for the middle class and lower middle class people like us, we don't have a sustained source of income. And so we don't, for one of those reasons, we don't get into politics, etc. Because it requires full time dedication, work, you are available for your people. And so your businesses or your work would be neglected. But to your question, then after, let's say, finishing with the UPSC, I went abroad. I worked in Singapore for some time with a shipping company. Then I came back and I worked with one of the international banks based in London. And I worked for the innovation hub of theirs in India. And once these two stints were over, I had enough to start, my own business.
And can you also elaborate a bit about your businesses? Also,
okay.
Like what businesses are you in? What drove you to venture into those businesses, and how are you balancing between?
That's a good question. Actually, the motivation of choosing the business as well. So let's say again 2014 I said, मुझे कुछ पैसा जमा करना पड़ेगा, कुछ पूंजी जमा करनी पड़ेगी, फिर उसमें निवेश करेंगे बिजनेस में. और बिजनेस जो होगा वो ऐसा बिजनेस होगा जो सेल्फ सस्टेनेबल होगा, जो अपने आप से चलते रहेगा. और मेरी जो जरूरतें हैं, आई वाज वेरी क्लियर कि मुझे कितना चाहिए, उतना मुझे मिलता रहे. And I can then dedicate myself after, let's say, 7-8 years towards public service. So once I had the funds ready, I started off a food business. And my idea of the food business was to cater to people where, the price of the food is not a factor that they would think when they engage with us. So we are into, let's say, affordable food segment. Very healthy, affordable food is what we provide. And we serve at least 300, 400 people within Mumbai as of today. So this is basically giving staple food to colleges, schools, hospitals, and corporate offices. So we
Okay.
have a centralized kitchen. We make all our food, and all our food is again sourced. Again, there's a lot of thought in that as well. Sourced from people who come from not so privileged backgrounds and are starting off a business. So there is a back end linkage to the business as well, where we see to that, women uh, background. Let's say we can get something from them, some homemaker making something that can we include them into our business. And then in the forward linkage, we see to it that your customers are the people who are looking for a staple food which is healthy, etc., at an affordable price. So that's the food business. So that was a business that I knew because coming back from candies, I knew how that whole business setup was. So that is one. And then we had managers and all fixed into these businesses so that the businesses can be run by these managers and SOPs. And again, these managers would have a sense of ownership in the business versus a boss sitting on top of them. So that is now almost auto played to an extent. And then moving on, I'm also into uh, corporate uh, office leasing. So that is something where you pick up offices, then you build these offices, and then you hand it over to it's a build, operate, transfer kind of model with corporates. So this is a model as well that I've been with co-working initially, so I get an understanding of how this works, and so that is also something that we do. And these are two that I'm working on, and now there's a third thing that I'm working on, which is a technology business. But yeah, so that was
Right.
that is
Actually, I
what I
remember having a conversation with you a couple of weeks back as to like मैं पूरा time तो Congress party को दे दूंगा, but how will I sustain myself? And then you shared about your businesses, and I just wanted our viewers also to understand about uh, how to venture into politics and find a balance between work, family, and politics. Uh, so
yeah.
even I
The
yeah.
operative part, then I will, if that was the intention of the question, I'll give you the operative part. The operative part being that how do you balance it? And so I
Hmm.
used to do 20% of time in politics and 80% towards my business
Businesses.
initially in the first 4 to 5 years. And the
Hmm.
20% was basically connecting with like-minded people
Hmm.
and making, a network of sorts of people like a tribe bana liya tha maine ki ye tribe hai mera,
Hmm.
who are doing my kind of politics, which we'll come to a little
Hmm.
later. And now it is the other way around, where 20% of the time now I'm stable. The economic restriction is not there, and so I'm available. And I felt the need also became very quick in 2019. I'll give you an incident why I wanted to jump into politics very quickly, because I felt there is a need of people to now not sit on the tenterhooks and wait कि कब अभी करेंगे 2024 तक हम
Hmm.
कुछ करेंगे नहीं तो उससे पहले करना था. And then now the equation has changed, wherein I give 80% of my time to politics and public service and
Hmm.
do a lot of
Hmm.
active groundwork, and 20% of the time is towards the business.
Yeah, yeah. But for you, like since the type of businesses you run, catering business and business of leasing office spaces, co-working spaces, this sort of businesses have a very kind of limited interaction with not limited interaction, but politics has a kind of very minimal intervention in with these sort of businesses. But the kind of venture that I am pursuing, which is in rural development and social impact, that has a lot of mingling with politics. Uh,
Right.
that closely works with the legislative, that closely works with the bureaucracy as well. Uh, so that is why sometimes it becomes difficult to balance both. On one side, it is easier that I can, develop networks and venture into certain geographies. But on the other side, also in the situation that we are living in right now, if the government has a bit of an idea that this organization or this person might not be in support of the government but in support of some other side, the opposition side, then they might restrict your funding. The corporates would fund you through CSR. We have seen FCRA licenses of the NGOs being cancelled in the last couple of years. Uh,
Right.
so that all. So it's also navigating through these circumstances which are ongoing in the country.
Precisely. If you see the fact checking machine as well, and all of these businesses which are let's say
mm,
in interaction with the government, are always under scrutiny, and it is not happening only in India or in Asia. It's happening world over. Right? And then how do
mm,
these companies then navigate and keep their businesses clean, and so that the government has no opportunity to
mm,
intervene within it? Of course, they will find opportunity always, but then
mm.
that's the navigation piece of it.
Right. Actually, do you know about Niranjan Takle? He's kind of a mentor to me. He's a senior
Okay.
journalist. He was working with the Caravan magazine, who had done an investigative piece on Justice Loya's death.
Okay.
So I have had a couple of conversations with him. So after the Caravan piece, which he published, he obviously had to leave Caravan for sure, even though Caravan does a kind of honest journalism. But we see that he was not getting jobs as a journalist in different organizations. He was finding it very difficult to work as a journalist. Uh,
Ravish
Also, we
Kumar
see recent
is
Ravish
one more
Kumar
example,
is one. Yeah, Ravish
but
Kumar is one more example. Then we have
many,
professors. Recently, an academy educator has been fired.
but he started off
Professor
his own.
from
Like
sorry.
he quit an academy and he started off
Hmm.
his own channel, right? Even Ravish quit NDTV and then he started off his own. So point being that it's actually an opportunity at times when you look at it that you can start off on your own.
Yeah, it can be an opportunity in disguise.
Yeah.
But
So
when you're working
I
at that
understand it
organization,
is spiteful, and if you're attacking a person because he has an opinion opposing to what the present day government is, and then you are attacking that person, then that's of course disgraceful.
right? So we see the tough times that we are living in. We are seeing the opposition alliance forming up as an India alliance. Uh, so what do you see the situation in the run up to 2024 elections? What are the key issues that will take center stage?
Hmm. Um, See, if you, I'll just go back a little bit to Bharat Jodo,
Hmm,
September 22, right?
hmm,
What is Bharat Jodo? And if I start from there, the thing that Rahulji is doing over there is just meeting people, right?
hmm,
It's a contact program, but at the same time, it is a healing program.
hmm,
The country today is going through pain. Let me put it in a
hmm,
simple term rather than all the other jargons. There is pain in society.
hmm,
When I'm speaking to my neighbor or I'm speaking in my community, I have
hmm,
to watch my words. What I'm
hmm,
posting on social media, I have to watch whether you know uh, the agencies will come to my door.
hmm,
Uh, is my in my country, is my farmer happy? Are women?
hmm,
What's happened in the northeast? Apart
hmm,
from the northeast as well, on a daily basis we see all these reports. So this
hmm,
journey was a healing journey
hmm,
where I think Rahulji was trying to meet people and heal whatever process he could, right? To the run up to these elections, the process continues. For me, at least personally, when I look at it, we are not talking about the big ticket GDP issues or unemployment and all.
hmm,
We're looking at basic issues.
hmm,
Are the women happy? Are
hmm,
tribals happy? Are
hmm,
minorities happy?
hmm,
Are the youth happy? Are they feeling
hmm,
safer?
hmm.
Are people in the middle class, or let's say businesses, feeling that they were? I find the last 10 years to be a lost decade. After you,
Okay.
it was a lost decade, and in the lost,
Hmm,
I mean, the opportunities that was squandered by the present government. You
hmm,
had talk about nationalism, but you have China sitting on the border. You talk about there was again a idea of India, wherein I was
hmm,
looking. If you look into Twitter, right? So wherein when
hmm,
Adani and Hindenburg happened, it
hmm,
was on Twitter like, as if Hindenburg was attacking India, so Adani became India.
hmm,
So the idea
hmm,
of India is what we need to protect in the run up to the elections. The constitution, the
hmm,
safeguarding of the constitution, the defending of the constitution, which these
hmm,
MPs take an oath of.
Right. Sorry to interrupt over here, but yeah, I agree with you that GDP and all such are big ticket issues with the common people might not relate with, because the situation they face on ground, they vote on different issues. They don't vote for GDP per se. But even as we speak about preserving the constitutional values, would the common people relate with these issues? Like, would it translate into electoral gains? Is something that I question. And while we definitely need to preserve the constitutional values, and a certain section of the society understands those issues, understands the gravity of those issues, but a huge chunk of population uh, doesn't care about, sorry to put it in a harsh manner, but doesn't care about preserving the constitutional values. Say for a person who finds, say for a family who finds it difficult to have 3 meals a day, why would they care about preserving constitutional values?
Right. So, you know, having 3 meals a day flows from the constitution as well. Like, of course, when I'm saying preserving the constitution or safeguarding it, it indirectly means how are we shaping our policies for the common man, right?
Hmm.
So, if I just pick up Article 19
Hmm.
and I say that you are being restricted of certain things, and it's getting violated of a constitutional right which you have,
Hmm.
right? And it's basic. And let's say minorities to practice, profess, and propagate their religion is a
Hmm.
fundamental right,
Hmm.
and it is safeguarded. But we see trampling of it on a daily basis. So I don't have to
Hmm.
go to the constitution to quote a article.
Hmm.
I can always say, this is what is happening to you today.
Hmm.
And look at this now, the election commission,
Hmm.
selection of the chief election commissioner is basically now going to be in a different way, right? So again, that's a challenge to the constitution. It's a constitutional post, and is it
Right.
affecting me as a citizen? Yes, it is, and to every citizen. How
Hmm.
is my representative going to be elected later on? Someone's going to be looking at that. So for me, again, it is what you're saying. There are some basic things that people need, but this all flows from the constitution. Our constitution makers were far ahead of their times. They
Hmm.
have guaranteed all of these rights in the constitution, and that is being amended and crisscrossed all over. And
Hmm.
that's where, if the theme of going into 2024 is about safeguarding our constitution, from whom and who is doing it, who's benefiting it, the few handful of people benefiting from this kind of amendment, or is it the
Hmm.
country on the whole? So these
Hmm.
questions are going to be very important going forward.
Yeah. So this brings me to another question, kind of. Sorry.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts around this? Like, I just wanted to know your thoughts
Yeah.
around this,
Around.
around the 2024 elections, and what do you think is the constitution being trampled, and is there something that the present government is looking at, to create an atmosphere where it can benefit a set of people? Do you think anything on those lines? Is it happening, or is it
Yes.
my thoughts?
Yes. No, no, certainly. I feel that the constitutional values of socialism, democracy, secularism, justice, fraternity, equality, all those things which are mentioned in the preamble are under threat for sure, and we have evidence for that. And as you also mentioned about the Article 19, which is the freedom of speech, and which also comes with a bit of restrictions. In Article 19(1)(a), there are several restrictions on the freedom
You
of
can
speech.
criticize the government. You can criticize the government, right?
We can criticize the government definitely, and we see that those restrictions are being used as a tool to, suppress the voice of dissent. While we can see in the mainstream media, I'm sorry to name, but they have to be called out. We can see journalists like uh, Suresh Chawanke, we can see journalists like Arnab Goswami, we can see Amish Devgan, who have been doing shows which are quite provocative, where actually not Article 19(1)(a) should come into picture, because those sides, like those kind of provocative speeches, obviously, uh, hampers the unity of the country,
Right.
and
Disturbance,
kind
disharmony
of,
is possible with
yeah,
all those. Yeah.
yeah, it causes disturbance, it causes disharmony. We have seen the government being silent on the restless protest. We have seen the government being silent on the Manipur protest. So
Only when
there
you
are
attack
there are
you attack India. So then you have all the ministers protecting Adani. So that's when they are not quiet.
Right. So the government is definitely helping a handful of people. The policies are being shaped for a handful of people. But on the other side, we have the government alleging the Congress party for its dynasty and supporting a handful of people. So I have a thoughts on couple of. So in most of the scenarios, we see the BJP government contradicting its own self, right? Even when we talk about the dynasty, yeah,
Yeah.
even when we talk about the dynasty, they have been talk they have not they, but all Hindus are followers of Jai, like Prabhu Shri Ram. Was Ram not a dynast? He got the throne from his father, right?
Right. Right.
They
Absolutely.
speak about Maharana Pratap, a Hindu king, or be it any Hindu king. Weren't they dynast? Wasn't Maharana Pratap a dynast?
Right.
Right?
Um,
and
so
and
it
also,
all
like, when it, sorry.
no, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, and also when we speak about dynasty, see, for example, Indira Gandhi was a daughter of Jawaharlal Nehru. Uh, so it's very obvious that she's been listening to what is happening. She's been quietly observing what is happening in that position. What does a prime minister think? How does a prime minister behave? Uh, like, what does the prime minister do on the daily life? So by default, they are very well, as dynasts, they are very well suited for that positions, because they have seen that position up close, right? And even when we talk about Mahabharat, sorry, I'll just
No,
take
no, no. Go ahead. Go
30
ahead.
more
Go ahead. You're
seconds.
saying the
Yeah.
right things. You're saying the right things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even when we like speak about Mahabharat, Abhimanyu, Arjun's son, learned to break into Chakravyuh while he was in his mother's womb. So
Right.
certain things people learn from childhood just because of a farmer's son, a farmer's child would know how should a farmer work, right? A bureaucrat's son would know how to function in bureaucracy, how to work in bureaucracy. Uh, Similarly, say take it for any profession. A doctor's child would know how does a doctor work, what things does a doctor do. Uh,
Right.
so certain qualities, certain traits for that position obviously come from inheritance. But we have seen we have seen leaders, we have seen prime ministers like Narsimha Rao, and all, like other prime ministers whom the Congress party supported, who were not dynasty.
Okay.
Manmohan Singh being the very recent one,
Right. So
right?
I'll just
So,
pick up from where you said,
yeah.
these qualities that you inherit is
Hmm,
because of the surroundings that you're born in. Right. You get
hmm,
a frontline view of how things are happening.
hmm,
But at the same time, you got to go to in democracy, you're going to the people. The
hmm,
people vote you, and then you take
hmm,
office. Right.
hmm.
So that is a litmus test that politicians have to go through. So even if it is a
Exactly.
ticket that has been presented, the person
Hmm,
has to perform,
hmm,
right? So that way, if I have to talk about Rajiv ji or I have
hmm,
to talk about Sonia ji,
hmm.
both of them had to get into active politics for a certain reason. There was a
Exactly.
social sacrifice
Hmm,
which the Congress has given this country,
hmm,
has done, right? Uh, of course, you will have dinners, like you said, in across party lines, but you'll always want to
hmm,
target a particular
hmm,
section, etc., etc. But the whole thing boils down to this: even a doctor's uh, child, being a doctor, has to give the MBBS exams, right?
hmm,
So all of that plays out in a way that until you're not qualified through whatever the
hmm,
qualified means are, you won't
hmm.
sustain. That's
That
my
brings me to another question. What's the merit in Jay Shah's appointment as BCCI president? Is there any merit, or is it dynasty?
everyone's asking that. I'm finding an answer to that as well. Like I'm not able to find an answer to that.
Yeah.
Was he a good
So
bowler? Was he a good administrator? Like what made him qualify for that?
exactly. So these are some of the questions like we should very like think of very critically when they raise allegations about dynasty. And the other thing is like obviously why not dynasty? A film star's child has a better reason to be a film star, better situations to make him or her a film star. But I
Absolutely.
believe that the kind of politics that they practice, even their children don't want to follow that line of thought. That is why they don't have their children in that
Possible,
field.
possible. So they are all fleeing and going abroad and probably taking a university a certificate while the others are
Mhm.
blindly following what their leaders are saying and
Mhm.
creating chaos.
We see Nirmala Sitaraman's husband is quite a vocal critic of what is happening in the system.
That's that's
So,
a that's a bright spot, right? Where you can identify what you don't align with and be vocal about it.
Mhm.
Right? So that's a bright spot, and if everybody can do that, and in fact, what's coming out in social media as well, when we take it as it is without verifying, without pausing,
Mhm.
and so that's when all of this multiplies into becoming a narrative, right? Dynastic
Exactly.
narrative ban gaya abhi. But then when you identify why people took steps like Rajiv ji and Sonia ji, like I mentioned, why did they get into
Mhm.
power? Right? So
Mhm.
all of that, and then you compare, is a dentist everywhere in every section of society? Yes. And why do we even have to pay heed to this social media feed? So वो हमको रोज परोसते हैं सुबह में, हम वो लेते हैं और हम उसी लैंग्वेज में उनको रिप्लाई करते हैं. But can we stop, pause, and identify what are we being manipulated to do? And then
Right.
ask the right questions as well after that. And then when the right questions are asked, even the others on their side, like you talked about Ms. Sitaraman's husband, they
Hmm.
would align and they would say, yes, that's the right question you're asking.
Hmm. Right. So let's get this moving a bit,
Sure.
and yeah, and I would like to understand your role in AIPC in the Congress circle. As to you mentioned that you are a political worker behind the doors, working behind the doors, behind the curtains.
Good.
Yeah.
So 2018 and 19, I would say, the trigger that I had to really now get into active politics was that my mom was basically looking at a WhatsApp forward that she received. And thereafter, she wanted to forward that, but there was the word PM written in it. And so she asked me that, मैं इसको forward करूँ या ना करूँ. I looked at it, it was like it was not even a joke. So I said, why are you even scared to forward this? That's when it struck me that मेरे घर पे educated principal रह चुकी mother अगर ये डर रही है forward करने के लिए, that means things are a little serious. And I mean, we can't sit on the tenterhooks again and just wait for some years that we have planned. So I said, let me now get my hands in and go to the deep end of the pool. And that's when I joined. I was speaking to people. What do I do? Youth Congress was a place that I could have also done, but I somehow preferred the All India Professionals Congress, which is the chairman, Dr. Tharoor, and Rahul ji's idea of starting off a cell within the Congress which can cater to professionals, which was also a big segment which swayed away after 2014. This section swayed away. And then it was a surprise to us if you look into the history of independence, etc. A lot of professionals who were part of the freedom struggle and from the Congress. And so, what happened? Right? Are we not engaging enough? Are we not talking enough? Are we not giving them space? So, these were the factors I think where AIPC, All India Professionals Congress, began. And so I said, I should start off. And so that's when I enrolled as a fellow. So you can be a fellow with the All India Professionals Congress.
This is
And
2017.
no, this is 1819,
Okay.
2018.
And how did
So,
you come across AIPC?
uh, so like I said, 2012, 13, 14, वहाँ पर UPSC हो गया था, बिजनेस खड़ा हो गया था 17 में. then I said, let me start off. Then I was just pushing it because again, business was taking away a lot of time. When 18, 19, the forced decision ki nahi abhi karna hoga. And that's when I was looking up onto the AICC platform, INCs, right? So within the मैंने सिर्फ research करना शुरू किया. I know spoke to many people about what should I join, but then I looked into the departments, etc., and I found out about All India Professional Congress. Then I started searching about All India Professionals Congress as well, and then I knew about Milind Devra and all, Matthew Anthony. These guys were behind, bringing AIPC to Mumbai and Maharashtra, and then I started inquiring further into it. That what do they do, and does it align with how I want to do things, and is there much freedom to do things? So I look at the platform as also a place where you have enough room to do what you want to do. In fact, I would give credit to the leadership of Matthew Anthony over here, where he's been very supportive of fellows to come into the system and challenge the system as well, and challenge what's happening outside, inside, and keep reviving how you do it. And that is something that really I liked. I looked up a lot of videos on YouTube about AIPC as well, and then I felt, okay, let me do this. This works for me, and I could engage and relate to a lot of professionals as well. Coming from a professional background, that made a lot of sense to me. So AIPC was it, and I'll just give a little brief about AIPC as well here, where AIPC as a platform allows a space for professionals into politics. Now you can choose to be a front end active participant, or you can be a back end participant as well, because a lot of people do not want to align to politics because of their, let's say, reasons of workplace not allowing that to do, or have a political view, and that's surprising, right? Where you can't have a political and you're a professional educated person, but you can't have a political view if you're working for a company, and they maybe and something that we are working on with a lot of stakeholders like NASCOM, etc. We are working with where these kind of clauses should not appear while you're having professionals onboarded. But this platform then allows you, you can be part of a chapter, and these chapters are parliamentary chapters within a space. So we have 6 parliamentary chapters in Mumbai, for instance. Each of them have one chapter, and the chapter is divided, structured with a president, vice president, and a secretary. All of them have their own roles. Like the president is mandated to set the agenda, integrate AIPC and the INC, and the secretary looks at how the continuity of a chapter works with meetings, etc. People can log on to the website and see about AIPC. But AIPC is a department within the INC which looks at policy making. How can they give policy inputs, not only for their own domain, which they have an authority on, because a lot of professionals, let's say I have a real estate background, and I would probably have some white papers created on real estate, some policies which we can then engage with the stakeholders in the government, and have our views taken while they are drafting policies. At the same time, you can also be a voice for the voiceless within your community, in your parliamentary constituency. There are a lot of issues, the BMC issues, municipal issues that you can engage with and professionally deal with it. So I don't call it as a place where professionals come into politics. I call it as politics to be done professionally. So
Interesting.
farmer is a professional for me, right? He has professional knowledge. He does his waste professionally. So a hair salon hairdresser is a professional for me, right? A musician is a professional for me, and they can actively do a lot of politics. When you write a poetry, you shoot a movie, and so these are the people we would like to engage with. In fact, we are always open to listening how we can do things better, and that's where my engagement with politics happened, and I was given charge of bringing in members. So as a membership coordinator of the state, I was supposed to engage and bring in new professionals and professionals who wanted to actively participate in politics. That was my mandate, and I really love doing that. We are actually one of the best performing states as well, where we engage with the professionals that are quite often and try and get them.
Actually, if it were not for you and Matthew, then I wouldn't have gotten active again in politics. Uh,
And it's
so,
good that you are now also inspiring a lot of others to have a voice and on a platform like AIPC, right?
yeah. So actually, I came across AIPC somewhere around 2018. while I was in my last year in college. I don't remember, maybe I saw a Facebook ad or something.
Okay.
And that time you had to pay 1,000 rupees as an annual fee. So I thought I'll pay
Annual or a
1,000 rupees.
lifetime membership?
Then it was, I guess, then it was like converted it to a lifetime membership. But
Okay.
initially there was some 1,000 rupees as an annual fee. So I thought maybe I'll join it for a year and let's see what it is. At that time, I guess it was taking shape, and we didn't engage with fellows this properly and like keep them engaged. So I met Kumud. Kumud was the first one I met.
Okay.
And then I attended a couple of programs in Thakur village in Kandivli. We had one or two programs over here. I met a couple of fellows. Uh, but then no one had a clarity about, how should we proceed? How should we engage? And then again, when recently, a couple of months back, when Shashi Tharoor was in Mumbai, uh, again, Kumud messaged me that Shashi Tharoor is coming to Mumbai. Would you like to attend the event? So then I attended the event. There I met Ashay Gune from Thane. I met Murthy. I met Raghuveer.
Oh,
We didn't meet during that time, right?
right.
So then I thought like things are shaping up. Let's see what comes out of this. And then you invite me for a meeting at MRCC where, like you message me, we have handpicked a couple of fellows and just
Right.
try and attend the meeting. So I attended the meeting, and that time, like Matthew gave a lot of clarity about how should we proceed on that. Uh,
Right.
so since then, I feel that I am in a good space now. This is where I can meaningfully engage with politics also, and feel this as a space where I belong. So, so thanks to
And
you, Roland,
the
for that.
endeavor is always to, increase the tribe, which is within
Hmm.
your constituency. How often do you engage with people, within a professional setup, or with your
Hmm.
society for that matter, etc., and bring in more people, who would want to engage with the platform. And I'm sure
Hmm.
that everybody will find it fulfilling, and they might find it that they're creating some sort of impact. Politics is all
Hmm.
about, I look at it as a circle. Like there is
Hmm.
always a dream that you want to make a change, and
Hmm.
when you're doing that, you're challenging a power structure. एक power structure
Hmm.
exists कर रहा है, somebody is dominating someone or some
Hmm.
situation, and you want to change that,
Hmm.
right? You're challenging that structure, and when you're challenging that structure, you'll always have struggle. It can be a 2 month
Hmm.
struggle, it can be a 2 year struggle, and once you
Hmm.
do that, then you are making the change happen. And then in that
Hmm.
struggle, people will join you. And I look at Gandhi's movement. All his
Hmm.
movements were these days, right? They were always challenging some power structures. In fact,
Hmm.
I can speak about a lot of political
Right from South Africa,
uh,
he has been challenging the power structure. Uh,
challenging power
but
structures is politics for me.
yeah, yeah.
How do you make that change happen?
So let's come to a bit of your politics as well. Like, what are some of? I don't know whether you have aspirations to contest elections or not. But if gotten a chance to contest elections, or say, for example, assume a leadership position, a very facing role where you could impact a lot of people on ground. So right now you are in a capacity where you are strengthening the organization.
Right.
But if you were to move in a different capacity towards a more people-facing role, so what would be the key issues that you would pick up?
So I'll put it this way: that first of all, I have been part of a lot of political struggles, or let's say
Hmm.
movements, and
Hmm.
building of organizations outside of INC as well, right, or
Hmm.
previous to INC as well. So I'll give you one instance which has widely been covered as well, wherein it's a very uh, usual phenomena in Mumbai where builders take a lot of money from a lot of buyers, a
Hmm.
10% token. बोलते हैं
Hmm.
कि यहाँ आपकी बिल्डिंग बनाएंगे, आपको घर 2-3 साल बाद देंगे. So
Hmm.
I had to actually get into one of these very huge fiascos, I would call, real estate scams in Mumbai, and actually counter the lobby, the real estate big lobby. And this
Hmm.
lobby threatened, life threatened भी मिलता है, पैसे का मोह माया भी मिलता है कि get off, etc. But I had to take it to the end. So I think my
Hmm.
professional way of doing things and keeping information available, engaging with lawyers, engaging with administration, etc., ensured that all these buyers were putting their hard work and money into uh, investing for a house and getting cheated of this builder. Then the
mm,
builder started, had been taken to task by the authorities, and then he had to pay back all the money. So that was a small win. What I mean to say by that is that politics for me is not election.
mm,
I'm happy and satisfied doing these activities where I am trying to make that change happen. So the dominating or the oppressor over here was the real estate builder, and
mm,
people were being oppressed. And how did I, make that change happen? It was a struggle for us over 2-3 years, but then, of course, we
mm,
made that happen. Even RERA authorities supported us in all our initiatives. And coming to your question again, look at Rahul ji. When he was out of parliament for
mm,
whatever time spent it, he was still actively doing a lot of politics outside of the parliament, right? So
mm,
whenever the opportunity comes in and the party thinks that I'm capable or I should be doing something, that's where I would like to head. As of now, the thing is about how do I strengthen the organization, how do I work within the organization, how do I bring in new people,
mm,
especially women. That's one of the mandates that I've discussed internally with the party as well,
mm,
that how to bring in more women into the parties and in
mm,
authoritative positions as well as presidents, vice presidents of various chapters that we are
mm,
building within Mumbai. So in
mm.
fact, that's where all my energies are today.
So, so a lot is happening within the Congress party. There is one leadership development mission 2029, which is happening, and a couple of programs which are happening within the Congress party, as you said, to build the party. So, can you share more about the initiatives that the party is taking right now, and how can people from various walks of life uh, join the Congress party, and what are the multiple avenues for people to be associated with the Congress?
So I'd say, there are many of these avenues, but I'll pick up two or three
Hmm,
of them. One is
hmm,
very recent, which is the Indira Fellowship. See,
hmm,
the Indira Fellowship is, asking women to get into active politics and how do we build them as leaders for the future. So it's like a
hmm,
pipeline that you can build of leaders within all the constituencies and districts and block levels, panchayats, and this is especially focused for women. The Indira
hmm,
Fellowship. So one should look up online and see the Indira Fellowship and how do they participate in it. Of course, you mentioned about the Leadership Development Mission. The Leadership
hmm,
Development Mission is also something that is everything's available online. It's a mission which is basically headed by K. Raju,
hmm,
and an idea which was brought up into the Rajasthan Shivir, which the Congress
hmm,
Party had, and Sonia Gandhi was involved in this crafting of this leadership development mission, which talks about how do we bring in OBCs, minorities, SC and ST leadership into the Congress. So the focus is to again build a pipeline of people on the margins of leadership. Of course, they might be party workers, but how do we bring them as leaders in forward? So we are working. This mission LDM works in all the constituencies which are reserved as of now, and then we expand further.
hmm,
So anybody within these communities would like to be into
hmm,
leadership position should explore the LDM. And of
hmm,
course, the professional congress, especially the AIPC in Mumbai under Matthew Anthony, Advocate Matthew Anthony, we are building further, MLA constituencies. So we are given
hmm,
mandates to build parliamentary constituencies, which are
hmm,
chapters. Now we are drilling it down to MLA constituencies. So we have a lot of leadership positions open within these chapters, and so women especially should who are professionals who would like to be part of AIPC should look up about All India Professionals Congress and register as a fellow. And once you are a fellow, then of course you could be considered to be in these kind of leadership positions. Apart from it, there is Ahimsa Ke Raste. There is a
hmm,
program run by Sachin Rao, which is again a eye opener of how politics should be, or let's say there is no mandate of a should be, but how politics could be.
hmm,
And it goes back to how the Congress was formed, what politics was, and what it is today, and then the choice given to you of what do you want to pursue.
hmm,
So they have a program called as Netrutva Sangam, and that
hmm,
The program is leadership development. So people who have been in politics, not necessarily INC only, but in various movements and been part of organization building, can apply for this uh, program called Netrutva Sangam. And we can look up online on Sarvodaya Sangam website, and then the
Hmm.
Netrutva Sangam leadership program can be seen over there. It's a 3-month program, 10 days each month.
Hmm.
You have to dedicate for this, and it happens in various parts of the country. And the program exposes you not only to a network of people who are political practitioners, but it also
Hmm.
allows you to sit and look within that what your politics is supposed to be, and how do you want to shape your politics in the years to go
Hmm.
ahead. Right, a lot of
And also,
conversations.
these 10-day periods are spent at different geographies, rural
That's
geographies. So that would also give an understanding of the grassroots level issues and.
The module is very very innovative. So you have field
Hmm.
studies, you go into the field, you
Hmm.
live with people in the villages.
Hmm.
So this batch, which is the fourth batch, had the first sitting in Ghattaprabha in Karnataka. So
Hmm.
they had village visits, they had discussions with political practitioners, they met the revenue minister, who gave insights into how he entered politics, what were the obstacles he faced, how did he overcome obstacles. तो वो पूरा ज्ञान आपको मिल जाता है वहां से. That happened in
Hmm.
Ghatraba. The second sitting was in Nagpur, in Wardha, in
Hmm.
Sevagram, and the third sitting is in Madhya Pradesh. So you have different geographies again, and you get
Hmm.
exposure to how people operate with, and then you get to meet all your batchmates. So you
Hmm.
get exposures of how these people function within their geographies, and whether there is some learnings that you can take away with from them. You go within yourself, you learn about yourself as well. There's a lot of focus about yourself. So your values, uh, what shapes your decision making, etc. There's a lot of soul searching happening as well for politics, and I think it's a great
Hmm.
program if someone can look up onto that as well, Netrito Sangam. And
Hmm.
that's one more program that and this is under Sachin Rao, who's in charge of training with the Indian National Congress. So one should look up onto that as well.
And also Meenakshi Natarajan, right?
That's right, Meenakshi Natarajan, Sachin Rao, and they've got a big team out there. Pallavi, and then there's
Hmm.
Jaya. A lot of people out there who are giving away all their time so that uh, we can safeguard the constitution, so that we can live the idea of India. And how do we prepare these many of us so that we are available for public service in our own ways? There is no mandate given to you that we got to do it in a way, but how do you want to do your own politics?
Right, exactly. So I would like to share with the viewers and the listeners over here that there are multiple avenues to participate in politics, to contribute to nation building. And Congress Party provides you a platform to participate in politics and in myriad ways, in various ways. But I would like to speak about AIPC here since I'm also a fellow at AIPC Mumbai, and there are a lot of professionals from all walks of life. We have chartered accountants, we have lawyers, we have doctors, we have journalists, we have development professionals, policy professionals, investment bankers. So what A is obviously an opportunity to network, and B is you understand from these genius minds as to how the country is shaping up, what better can we do to shape up our country and participate meaningfully in politics. So if you are considering to join AIPC, then visit the website profcongress.com and you will find all the information there. And we are coming to an end of this episode. So Roland, would you like to make any closing comments?
Um, I think this is a fabulous initiative that you've started. Of course, we want more voices to be out there. I'm sure that you will get in a varied set of people within your programs, women, tribals, the youth, etc., etc., and get their views of whether they feel India is being the idea of India is being threatened, and how they would want India to shape up going forward. So I think this is a brilliant initiative, and my congratulations to you of starting this off. And thanks for having me here.
Thanks, Roland. It was a pleasure to host you. And as the name of the segment says, Jann Ki Baat, it is a platform for people to voice their opinions, platform for people from all walks of life. Because currently, at the helm of affairs, we have a person who is only interested in Man Ki Baat. So we need to listen to Jann Ki Baat, because Jann Ki Baat is where the idea of India is, where the aspirations of the future are. So if we want to build an India of our dreams, uh, it is necessary to listen to the Jan Ki Baat. So with that, we end our second episode with Roland de Cruz. Uh, and do subscribe to the Congress Radio 2.0. Hit that subscribe button, click the bell icon, share it with your friends, family, and colleagues. And do let me know in the comments about who do you want to see on this episode. While I have a lot of aspirations to have people, very respectable people from different walks, but also let me know in the comments about who you want to see on this episode. So thanks, Roland, and thank you, viewers. Thanks.